room, expanded product lines, everything you need for home decorating you will find at Westside Decorating Center. Good morning to you. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Art Lewis Show. We are in a sports mood this morning because that's what we're going to talk about both this hour and next. Next hour, Wendy Trashin, the Vice President of Outlier and Tournament Director for the Dow Championship, will join us to preview that event coming up next week at the Midland Country Club. Yes, it's almost been a year. I say almost because it's actually moved up a few weeks this year. But for this hour, sitting in our lobby on our couch is that world-famous Memorial Cup. And, of course, a name yet to be emblazoned on it, which will be at some point this summer. Saginaw Spirit are the Memorial Cup champions for 2024. And to chat with us and look back a little bit and maybe even talk a little bit of what's ahead is the voice of the Saginaw Spirit Hockey Club. You hear him not only during the games, but Thursday mornings when he chats with Charlie on the morning team here on WSGW. But we say good morning to Dylan Clark.
Morning, Art. How are you?
I'm good. Still wearing your Champions hat.
Yeah, I don't pull it out very often.
Pull it out or pull it off?
Well, for the first few days, it was the latter. But no, I figured bringing the cup here to see you guys was a pretty good occasion to put it back on again. It's one that'll you can't wear it. You can't wear it for the rest of the time. Yeah. But I don't know what the official unwritten rules as far as wearing the championship hat are. I think I'm still okay. It's within the same month, but
yeah. I mean, well, you're still working for the championship team, delivering the championship trophy. Yeah. So I mean, it fits. No. It fits. I have said, matter of fact, I was interviewed for a book being written about Dennis DeRozier, and I told the interviewer, and I think I've said this to you, that Hollywood could not have written a better script for the 2024 Memorial Cup.
No.
It could not have happened.
No,
nobody could have predicted it.
And I've said if somebody was writing a movie or a TV show or something and they put that script in front of me, I'd laugh them out of the room. Like, that's not going to happen. That's no. I'd be flipping the page like, oh, they lost to London in the conference final, and then in the round robin too. I'm like, let me guess, they beat him in the championship game. Oh, and it's the guy they traded away that comes back. Oh, and they do it in last minute fashion. I'd say, no, get out of here. It's not believable. That wouldn't happen.
I had a different view of him going in. Everybody was poo-pooing chances that Saginaw could beat London. And I said, you have to remember in the playoffs, the only two games London lost were both to Saginaw. They didn't lose to anybody else.
No, and that's, it's a testament to both teams, honestly. Like London was for the majority of the season, they were the best team in the CHL, and they proved that, and that adds up because of how they dispatched, everybody else except for Saginaw.
They play an intimidating style of hockey. They're in your face. They're very, very physical, sometimes to excess, and they've paid for it with suspensions and all of that. And they've got some goons that they send out to do it. But the bottom line is they're still good hockey players.
Well, they do everything well.
They do everything well, and that includes their junior program, where they develop a lot of players.
Yeah, a lot of guys come from the London Nationals. They're kind of there for Saginaw. Our junior B affiliate is the Chatham Maroons. And we don't have a ton of guys being there right now. I think of trying to think. Jacob Kluche had a really good year there. Graydon Jones was in Chatham this year. Both of those guys came up and joined the team as scratches for the championship run, but they were around. Jacob Kluche scored a pretty big game winner early in the season in Saginaw's home opener before having a really strong year in Chatham. And not a part of that Maroons affiliation, but in the GOJHL as well, Carson Harmer. He was the Rookie of the Year in the GOJHL, and with the Spirit had a lot of 19-year-olds. It's no surprise it's a 19-year-old league. So with that, they've achieved their goal, and some of those names are going to be departing. So some big roles are going to have to be filled. So look at guys like Jones and Harmer and Kluche to step in and fill them. But to your point about London's Junior B affiliations and the guys that they have coming up from the London Nationals, I don't have it in front of me. It's been a while since I've had to look at the roster of the London Knights, but I know there are a handful of guys. I want to say Easton Cowan was a London National at one
think
point.
he was.
I want to say I don't want to say anybody else because I might be wrong, but I know Easton Cowan was for sure.
And he's their focused player.
Well, yeah, he was the Red Tilson Award winner as regular season MVP and the Wayne Gretzky '99 Trophy Award winner as the MVP
And the
of the
kid
playoffs.
can shoot goals. There's no two ways about it. He's got a seeing eye stick.
Well, I mean, you talk about London being able to do everything well. Easton Cowan does everything pretty darn well as well. First round pick to Toronto last year, and I think maybe a few people were kind of scratching their heads at that pick. Last year, my first year in the league, I didn't really know what I was looking at in terms of the talent here. And I think I want to say I missed the first game against London, so I only saw Cowan 2 or 3 times. But seeing him this year, he was a first round pick for sure. so it makes a lot of sense. But no, they're an incredibly talented team, and they're going to have a lot of guys that are sticking around too next year.
Oh, yeah,
they've got some OA decisions to make, and the Spirit do too.
They never seem to have an off year, so to speak.
No, and I haven't been around long enough to witness that up close and personal. You know, you can hear stories and go back and look at rosters and say, oh yeah, they have been good for a long time, and it takes talent to be able to do that.
So we know we lose Bloom, Hache, and Christopoulos,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that are a year younger, some of them, Sapovalov, what's the chances?
I think for a lot of them, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but with those guys, those are the 04 birth years. The guys that were 19 this year, they would be OAs next year. Sapovalov, Haight, Beck, those guys are all NHL drafted. And again, I don't want to get ahead of myself and say, oh yeah, he's going to be here. But the expectation, you would think, as Charlie places the Memorial Cup down next to me on the table here. Thank you very much for that, sir.
Live radio.
It's enough to make you lose your train of thought.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But for those guys that would be always next year, you know, those guys, the expectation is they're going to make their full-time jump to pro next year. Owen Beck's already played an NHL game. Jordan Donovan's already played an American Hockey League game with the Senators in Belleville. And, you know, you kind of go on down the list for Hunter Haight, for Matthias Sapovalov. The expectation is that it'll probably be more of the same. So like I said, there are going to be some roles to fill, both from guys like Cloutier and Jones and Harmer to take that next step up into the Ontario Hockey League. And there are going to be elevated roles to fill. You know, I look at guys like Ethan Hay, like Joey Willis, and like Michael Misa, who, again, all these guys have taken steps as the years have gone on in their development, and they've checked all the boxes, I would think, as far as what Chris Lasry and Dave Drinkel want from them. And again, I'm saying this with the Memorial Cup literally in my hands right now, so they check the right boxes, but these guys are they're going to be the guys next year. They're not going to be really good players on a really good team. They're going to be the best players on a good team. So it's a different mentality.
The other name we haven't mentioned yet, Zane Parekh, but he's only 18, and I think the chances are they'll probably keep him down for development for one more year.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
He's the draft coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend, the 28th and 29th in Vegas at the Sphere or at
Going out?
Sphere. I am, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
glad people are going to be there for Zane.
It is, and you know, the whole coaching staff. Chris Lasry's going. I know. Dave Drinkel and our assistant GM Brian Proud are going to go.
Oh, cool.
Our director of social media Emma Miller and myself are going out. We're going to make sure that we give Spirit fans the most up close and ability to follow along with Zane on his special day, and obviously for the franchise as well. But his special day, and the expectation, again, it's not a guarantee, but when the final rankings came out, Zane Parekh was the number 5 ranked skater, according to North American Central Scouting. Now, there are a couple other guys. Again, there are some big names ahead of him. Obviously, Macklin Celebrini is going to go first overall to San Jose. Things after that get a little bit muddy, and you're not sure. You're not positive.
Well,
but
you know what everybody, I don't know about everybody, but I certainly am hoping. I think the Red Wings pick 5th or 6th, don't they?
I don't know. I don't know where the Red Wings pick. That would have to be something.
That would just be just a dot on the I.
It would. I think we gotta look that up. The expectation is between 5 and 10 for Zane. I think if he fell past 10, people would be shocked. I think if he went before 5, people would be a little bit surprised. I don't think it would be as shocking.
But no, yeah, it wouldn't be as shocking.
No, but with the buzz that's been around him,
literally all year,
96 points. Yeah, he's just, and it's so funny because he goes back to going back to last year too, because he did an interview at Top Prospects at the Top Prospects game this winter with the CHL. Just talking about, they asked him, they said, do you remember your first OHL goal? And I was at that game. I got to see his first OHL goal in person. We were in Niagara in November. He and Michael Misa and Bodie Stewart, who was a part of the team at the time, they'd just come back from the U17 World Hockey Challenge I forget who, because they were split into different teams representing Canada. I think Mike and Zane were on the same team. I could be wrong. But anyway, they'd just come back. And prior to their departure for the tournament, Zane had not scored yet. I think he had a couple of assists, and to hear him tell the story, he goes, "Yeah, I was struggling." He goes, "I wasn't performing," because he was a first round pick. Right. He went 19th overall to the Spirit, so he wasn't performing up to the standard he had set for himself, and I guess what they had hoped for him out of the gate. And again, it was November; it was early in the season, and just hearing him say, "Yeah, I wasn't doing too well," and then
but the team
finally
wasn't.
No, at that point,
the first couple of weeks of the season.
Well, last year though, if I'm not mistaken,
last year they started out of the box.
They came out pretty decent.
Yeah, better last year.
And then I happened to show up, and then they go on a 9-game winning streak, and that was.
Oh, I can take credit. Go ahead.
No. I'm not taking credit. Because I remember having people come up to me, and everybody's meeting me. Hey, we should have hired you earlier. You're our good luck charm, and I'm still extremely nervous. I'm like, all right, yep, sure, whatever you say, but. He comes back from the U17s, and his first game back, he scores against Niagara off a great pass from Mitchell Smith. And he hasn't stopped since then because he sets the U17 defenseman scoring record that season. And it's like, okay, the buzz about, hey, this Perek kid is pretty darn good. How did he fall to 19th? Because Dave Drinkle, our GM, was saying that from the beginning. He said, how did this kid fall to us at 19 in the draft?
Yeah, because for those that don't know, he was our second pick. But a first-round pick, because number one, we got Michael Misa as the first-round draft, number one overall. Zane was our second pick, and I think a lot of people were surprised that he was still available.
Yeah, and again, that second pick in the first round, the reason that the Spirit had that pick, it was a compensatory pick because they took Adam Fantilli in the first round, and he didn't report.
He didn't report, that's right.
So they get a first round pick back. It turns into Zane Perek. So I'm sure that was, again, that predates me. I'm sure that wasn't ideal when Adam Fantilli made other plans, but it results in Zane Perek, and again, the result sitting to my right.
That's right. We're going to take a break, come back, we're talking to Dylan Clark from the Saginaw Spirit, the voice of the Spirit, sitting next to the Memorial Cup here in the studio. Let me take a moment to talk about Quick Lane Freeland next to McDonald Ford, my car dealer. This is where you go for all of your routine maintenance. You want oil changes, tires, batteries, you name it. They'll do it. You need new wipers? Go in there. They do it, and they do it efficiently. And the other thing they do is they treat your cabin. And by treating your cabin, they have a product called FrigiFresh. It's a hospital-grade disinfectant that's placed into your ventilation system, kills germs, mold, odors, pollen, you name it. It takes care of it and gives you a healthier atmosphere. And don't forget also a cabin filter. Have them check it while they're there because cabin filters also go a long way to clean the air inside the car. So by all means, stop into Quick Lane Freeland. FrigiFresh is only $20, takes 10 minutes. You don't need an appointment. Just stop in. Quick Lane Freeland next to McDonald Ford, where they service all makes and models of cars and trucks and keep them in tip-top shape.
Are you suffering from pain or injury?
We're back with you here on WSCW in studio with me, the voice of the Saginaw Spirit Hockey Club, Dylan Clark. And the Saginaw Spirit, of course, Memorial Cup champions for 2024, a script that could not have written any better. That was I've watched it now. I don't know how many times I've watched the Bloom goal at the end of the game. That had to be a tough call for you because it was hard to see what was going on at the net.
Yes, it was. And I that makes sense that you would be able to appreciate that from a broadcaster standpoint. It was because it happened fast, and I knew once they turned it over and Donovan gloved it down, I'm like, this is a good chance. Like seriously, as soon as he gloved that puck down, I'm like, he can make something happen here. And
yeah, he actually took a good shot on the goal.
Well, it got deflected. I think it kind of fluttered off his stick, and Max McHugh from London, who actually he gave the puck away as well. Yeah. And he had been a thorn in the side of the Spirit. I mean, you talk about a kid that he plays an agitator's role. Now, granted, he's talented as well. He can score.
Yeah, you don't criticize him as much because he can skate and he can score.
No, and he's one of those players where you hate playing against him, but if he's on your team, you love him. So he gives the puck away, and he deflects the Donovan shot down into the pads of the goaltender Michael Simpson. And I knew it, like it's close. You could tell right away Simpson doesn't know where it is. His body's turned. He's not in a good position. And then it's just chaos and bodies in the paint. And the last time I truly saw the puck was in the blue behind him, and I saw Josh take a swipe at it, but I don't think that was the one that made I'd have to go back and look at
punched
the...
a couple of times, I think.
I think that one was stopped because McHugh comes back, and he blocks the first one. And that was where I lost it, and then Bloom jams home the second one. And in this all, seriously, if you go back, this all happens in probably a second or a second and a half. And in that time, my thought process, I'm like, okay, where is it? I'm like, there, I just saw it in the paint. I'm like, I haven't seen it in yet. What's going on? And then everybody hands start to go up. Josh skates away. He starts celebrating. He gets to the bottom of the circle. And I'm going, okay, I haven't seen it in yet. And the ref was not making a clear signal. I went back and I looked. He was pointing.
He was pointing,
but he
had
his hand up by his chin because usually when a referee points at a goal, his arm is fully out.
I think the reason he did that though was his head was almost down on the net, looking for the puck.
Yeah,
but really, that was just, I'll tell you what the bigger surprise was to me, and that is then when the puck disappeared into the pads on the deflection, and it wasn't seen for a while. There was no whistle.
He saw it. He saw it. It was still loose.
The ref had to see it.
Yeah, it was still loose.
But when he was in the back, and I never figured out how he was able to know that puck was still loose.
I think there's the net cam. The net cam shows a good angle of it. It was not even close to being frozen for any point in time. But that's why those guys are so good. And I forget who it was. It might have been Sean Reed, the referee. I'm not sure.
It was, yeah.
But Josh gets to the bottom of the circle and he starts celebrating, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to call a goal. I'm just going to say it's a goal, because everybody's celebrating at that point, and I'm going to say if it gets waved off, it gets waved off. But I'm just going to sell out and call it a goal, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, well, folks, you got to listen to it. He didn't just call it a goal. He blew the lid off the place. That was a very exciting call. It really was. Just, I don't know what else to say other than just unbelievable.
Yeah. No, everything from that moment on for the rest of the night and for the days after that.
It was a blur.
Well, it was a blur, and it seriously, like, I know people say it felt like a dream a lot, and it truly did, because I had to keep looking around, especially because it all happened so fast. Because nobody really knew what was going on. I said, we're like, are they going to review it? Like, because again, it was 21.7 seconds left. I'm thinking, are they going to review it? Like, what's the...
It's automatically reviewed anyway, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but I'm conditioned to, sometimes we have the stoppages.
Yeah.
Go back, take a look at it.
A lot of those this year.
But there were. But nobody knew for sure. Everybody was kind of stunned. And then before I get my bearings back, they dropped the puck again. I said, okay, we still got some hockey here.
21 seconds.
And you know what? It was the same. I went back and I got to see the footage of the Spirit reaction on the bench. They're all celebrating. They're jumping up and down. Everybody's hugging each other. And of course, Chris Lazary, who probably jumped higher than anybody else.
It was.
He was the first guy to get back up, and he grabs Kalen Mangoni, Joey Willis, and Matias Sapovalo because they're up next. He sends them out next because he goes from the most excitement ever, and he probably had the same thought, like, oh, geez, we still got to play hockey here for a couple of seconds. So he grabs these guys, and he pulls them in, and he's, again, it's one of my favorite. There are so many shots and so many moments from these games that are going to go down as my favorite in my career, I think. But that was one of them because he's got them all. He grabs them so close because it was so loud in there you couldn't hear.
Yeah, and I bet many, many Saginaw Spirit fans probably had the exact same reaction I did on the third London goal. Here we go again.
It was getting tense. Yeah.
Here we go again.
No,
Because they've done it to us before exactly the same way. And I just shook my head and said, no, you can't let that happen again.
No, and it was such a strange game because again they were London was the team to beat in the CHL this year, and
they only have one shot. After a period and a half.
Nobody scored more goals than they did, and any even strength, power play, penalty kill, they led everything. They had the most goals in the league up and down the scoring sheet, and they were held to 2 shots halfway through the game. And you feel for Andrew Oak because I think they finished with 13 shots in the game. So he'll be the first to tell you 10 saves on 13 shots. That's not your best night. I think if Andrew was writing the story, he would have had a 30 save shutout in the Memorial Cup final. But that's not the way it shook out. But just as a goaltender, you're sitting there and you don't see anything for it's 35 minutes of gameplay. That's about an hour. you got nothing, so you got to keep yourself into it. And the first goal, the Haltonen goal, was you're not going to stop that one. Casper Haltonen had one of the best releases in the OHL this year. So that one's kind of a write-off. I think Andrew would want to have the Cowan goal back, the second one, because that one got through traffic. It was a little leaky. But again, I go back to my point. Like, he's seen nothing for an hour. It's just tough to keep yourself into it that way.
Can you hang in here for another second?
Yeah, 100%. Sorry.
All right, we'll be right back.
Experience the ultimate summer.
Back with you in studio with me is Dylan Clark, the voice of the Saginaw Spirit Hockey Club. So, Dylan, on a personal level, you come out of Carolina, you're a young guy, you get hired by the Saginaw Spirit. A year and a half later, you're calling the winning goal on the Memorial Cup.
Yeah, I still don't know what I did to deserve that. If somebody could let me know, I would very much appreciate it.
We know your talent, but that's But what was your thought process as you've spent this year and a half or a little more now with the Spirit?
Just as a whole, for what I want to do, when I was about 15, I decided I'm going to try my best and do everything I can to try to become a play-by-play broadcaster in the National Hockey League. And I didn't tell really anybody that. But as time went on, people would ask me, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, maybe some broadcasting or something like that." It just because there aren't very many jobs. There aren't a lot of people that get to do what I do. Now, there are a lot of guys that broadcast a lot of different sports, that they do freelance work. They do some lacrosse, they do some hockey, they do some basketball, baseball, and they float around. And I didn't want to do that because I don't know or have a passion for any sports like I do hockey. So I wanted to be a team broadcaster and have all the experiences that come with that. I want to follow a team around for an entire season and be their voice. So it's tough to do that. It's tough to get a foot in the door. And I was fortunate enough when I was at South Carolina, nobody else knew how to call a hockey. Now I didn't either, but I had listened. I had listened to enough broadcasts, pretty much probably one a day for 10 years or something like that. And people say video games can't help you advance your career, but I will say I played a lot of the EA Sports NHL video games. And no disrespect to Gary Thorne, I actually have a ton of respect for Gary Thorne now. He became one of my favorite hockey voices, but they're pre-recorded sayings. And as a 12-year-old and you play the game a lot, you get a little tired of the pre-recorded sayings, so you kill the commentary, and then your brain just kind of fills it in. So that was how I started, air quotes, calling hockey games. But I got lucky that nobody else at South Carolina was doing that. We had D3 club hockey. It was not good hockey, but it was a lot of good people. I got the chance to start calling games on our local, our student television network, which was YouTube. And then as the years went on, the team got better, and I kind of sharpened some skills, and I started traveling with the team. We went to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We played Wake Forest, and they played at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds Annex, which is where the Carolina Thunderbirds of the Federal Prospects Hockey League played. And I was looking for, I usually just show up and I ask, like, hey, can I get a table and maybe an outlet and some internet so I can call this game? Because we would just do audio streams on YouTube. We'd throw up a graphic, and it was essentially like a radio broadcast. And they're like, I think our play-by-play guy's up there. Go talk to him. And Drew Blevins was his name. And I met him, and he became kind of a mentor of mine. So when my time at South Carolina was done, he and I stayed in touch, and he said, hey, I'm leaving Carolina, I want you to apply for my job. So a month out of school, and again, it was no guarantee. I'm thinking, how am I going to get a hockey job out of school? I don't know what I'm going to have to do for the first few years until I can get that foot in the door. And when Drew sent me that message, and all of a sudden I had a job in hockey as a play-by-play broadcaster a month after I graduated, I thought that was hitting the lottery. Little did I know what was coming down the pipe. All right, so I don't know. It's just been case after case of right place, right time, and getting to meet and interact with a ton of phenomenal people.
How'd you find out about the Saginaw job?
So our assistant coach, Garrett Rutledge, here in Saginaw, he was a video coach here years ago.
Yep.
He was our head coach in Carolina with the Thunderbirds. So, it's funny because he's become one of my best friends in hockey. But when he first got to Carolina, he's an intense guy. I was a little afraid of him. So,
yeah, it's the coach's mentality.
Yeah. So, but as as time went on, we called being on the road in the Federal Hockey League. We called it being in the trenches. And when you're in the trenches and our bus is breaking down every weekend, and we're after a game at 11 p.m. in Danbury, Connecticut, and it's like, what are we going to do for food? Everything's closed, and I'm panic ordering Taco Bell. I'm calling Taco Bell. What are you guys doing? You open? Oh, yeah, we're Taco Bell. Okay, I need like 800 tacos because we got a hockey team here. And so he's working on the hotels. I'm doing that. He's trying to get the bus fixed. I'm trying to figure this out. And so when you work through that many, not crises, but that many situations, you become pretty close. And so there was another guy, Dom Hennig, is the former voice of the Flint Firebirds, former team services director in Kitchener with the Rangers. Right now he's out with San Diego of the American Hockey League, the Ducks AHL team in Anaheim. They were friends because they worked in Flint together. And Dom came down when we were in Port Huron. It was a Thunderbirds game in Port Huron against the Prowlers. And that was when I met Dom, and he was impressed with the many things I had to do at one time to make sure Thunderbirds broadcast got off. And he kept me in mind. And I'll never forget, we were getting ready for my second season in Carolina. And, I'd sent out some job applications and none of them came back. I was a little disappointed, but I'm like, I just finished my first year pro. Like it would have been a long shot to move up anyway. Yeah. And I'll never forget October 13th of 22, Dom calls me. I missed his call. He left me a message. And all it is it's Dom, call me back ASAP. And that was it. That was the whole message. So I called Dom back ASAP and he said, I got something for you. Saginaw's looking for a broadcaster. They asked for a name. They asked for names. I gave him one. He goes, you need to call Craig Goslin. I said, I don't know who Craig Goslin is, but I'm going to call Craig Goslin. so I called Craig Goslin, and I'm very, very glad that I did because
we all are.
I went through a couple of interviews. We were starting our training camp in Carolina, and Garrett Rutledge, he knew what was going on, and I was like, I got to sneak off to go do my interview, and our captain John Batista knew as well. And those, again, both great friends of mine in hockey. Two of the many great friends of mine in hockey that I've been blessed to meet. But
things happen for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
I'm convinced of it. I mean, Joey's departure, Joey Batino, who was the voice before Dylan, and I know Joey well because when you talk about interviews, Craig had me sit in with Craig for the interview with Joey when we hired him.
I didn't know that.
Yep. And when Joey left, it was sort of bittersweet because, you want to see somebody move up and do something different, but it was just the third of the season hadn't even gone yet, And you wonder, what are you going to do? And to say that you filled the job seamlessly would be a gross understatement.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I didn't feel I still remember my first game here, and that there are games. And fortunately, the longer I do this, they're fewer and farther between. There are some games that you just have to survive and get through. That was why I just had to survive and get through.
Same thing right here. I mean, there are days when you have to sit here and survive. You really don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going, what you're going to say. It's part of the game, though.
It is, and I,
Right. Let me grab one last break.
Of course.
He was kind enough. I've shanghaied him, friends. He didn't plan to be here today. He planned to come and get the cup and leave. So we'll be back in just a couple of moments.
Jim Wilson, the Ford F1.
Hello, with Dylan Clark, the voice of the Saginaw Spirit Hockey Club. For those that don't know, The commissioner of the Ontario Hockey League, David Branch, has retired, and a new commissioner has been hired. And you happened to be at those meetings. And what were your impressions of the new commissioner?
Well, I hadn't met him yet. He was not at league meetings.
Oh, he wasn't there.
No, they're unveiling their press conference for the new commissioner was the day after. It was the day we got back. So no, it's an exciting time. You know, David Branch was the commissioner of the Ontario Hockey League for 45 years. I want to say. So this is a big moment for the league, and I know a lot of people are excited about Brian and what he's going to be able to do here. And again, just like you and I were talking off air before we started, I don't know enough about what it takes to be a good commissioner to say, you know, what needs to happen, what's this, what's that, what to look for. But
he's going to come in with new eyes,
right.
Obviously fresh eyes,
right.
And there'll probably be changes subtly along the way. One of the questions I watched a couple of the press conferences, and one of the questions asked of him, "Are you going to be the disciplinarian like Dave Branch was?" Branch kept that to himself. He was the disciplinarian. He had the final say on suspensions and penalties and all that. And Brian's answer was, I don't know yet. I have to, part of the learning process.
No, that's a good question. And, that was one of the conversations that we had in some of our breakout sessions at league meetings, just the comms end, the communications end of suspensions and things of that nature. Because I know there were some this year that left people scratching their heads. And, for some of them, that's not the worst thing. But for others, if it's a hit or a check or this or that, just to be walked through and say, okay, why is this a suspension? We won't get, I'm sure Spirit fans will think back to Andrew Oak getting hit in the second round against the Sioux. Now, Bryce McConnell Barker got kicked out of the game for that. He did not get suspended, if my memory serves me correctly. And
I don't think he did.
I'm having a harder time remembering that than I probably should, because it really wasn't that long ago.
I don't think he did.
He did not get suspended.
There was a different suspension later on, not him.
There was. But, he got kicked out of the game, no suspension. Andrew Oak misses the next, the rest of the playoffs, really. He's not back until Memorial Cup. But that would not be discussed.
Listen, Dylan, first of all, I treasure your friendship. And,
you as well.
You do such a fabulous job.
Thanks,
You've been a real addition to the Spirit. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for everything.
All right, we'll be back to close out this hour and move on to the next.
Now over to Christine.
Courts flatly rejected that, and now the Supreme Court is looking at whether or not he does have at least some immunity.
The heat dome baking the Northeast is expanding into the Midwest. These two tourists sweating it out on what's expected to be a 95-degree day in Washington, D.C.
Just trying to squeeze stuff in without going insane from the heat.
Bunch of water, so just trying to stay hydrated.
Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams at the Weather Channel.
High pressure causing all this warmth is really running the show. Underneath it is sunny and hot. The clockwise flow around it is directing our two tropical disturbances on the south side, and it is steering storms from the plains into the Midwest. There is a flood threat in the Four Corners, including where the fires are in New Mexico.
People in southern Gaza say the Israeli army has stepped up attacks. Reporter Linda Gradstein from Jerusalem.
Palestinians said that tanks had entered the western and northern parts of Rafah, the last remaining stronghold of Hamas in Gaza. They said Israel had attacked the area with planes, tanks, and ships. In a different part of Gaza, Israel said it hit a rocket launcher that was set up in a humanitarian area.
A scare in the air over Oklahoma.
4069, low altitude alert. You good out there?
Federal officials are investigating a Southwest flight that dove to within 500 feet over a residential neighborhood in Oklahoma City as it tried to land while it was still 9 miles from Will Rogers Airport. It missed on first approach, but eventually landed safely. Officials in Zambia say a woman from New Mexico has been killed by an elephant. Police say she was part of a group of tourists in a truck that was stopped in traffic when it was attacked by a herd. Authorities say the elephants charged the vehicle and flipped it, killing Juliana Tourneau and injuring 5 others. The Dow is up 33 points. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance.
It could be the best years of... From the 100.5 and 790 newsroom, this is WSGW News.
Cloudy skies and 74 degrees at 10:05. Good morning, I'm Mike Perchup. A former corrections officer will not have any jail time for assaulting an inmate at the Isabella County Jail in 2020. According to the Michigan Attorney General's office, 48-year-old Christopher Cluley pleaded no contest in April for an assault that took place in April 2020. Prosecutors say Cluley was working as the jail's administrator in charge when he slammed an inmate to the ground during a prisoner cell transfer, causing the inmate to fracture his left knee. Cluley was placed on administrative leave while the Isabella County Sheriff's Department conducted an internal investigation, which was then turned over to the Michigan State Police. Cluley pleaded no contest to charges of aggravated assault and willful neglect of duty. He was sentenced yesterday to a year of probation. He must undergo anger management assessment and a class and can no longer work in Michigan as a corrections officer. A Midland County judge has denied an appeal by the Huron Cove Association to halt a special assessment for repairs and replacement of dams in the Four Lakes area. The Edenville and Sanford dams were destroyed after heavy rains in May 2020, resulting in hundreds of millions of dollars in damages around the region due to the resulting floods. The Four Lakes Task Force, which oversees the operation and maintenance of the dams, proposed the assessment to repair and rebuild the dams for Smallwood, Secord, Edenville, and Sanford in order to restore the lakes to their previous levels. It was approved by both the Gladwin and Midland County Board of Commissioners in January. The association claims the assessment is much too high and sought to have it blocked in court. 42nd Circuit Court Judge Michael Beal ruled in favor of Four Lakes Task Force yesterday. WSGW News Time, 10:07.
Attention, Saginaw. After
News Time, 10:08. The weather forecast is coming up. In order to assess Michigan roads, the Citizens Research Council of Michigan created the Road Funding Index. While comparing all 50 states, researcher Eric Paul Dennis found Michigan ranks 30th overall in the nation for road funding. When you factor in bridge costs, Michigan ranks 26th nationally and 8 out of 11 among nearby peer states. Michigan's Attorney General says the force is with them when it comes to fighting back against organized retail crime. Dana Nessel says the force team has been a huge success in its first year, joining with major Michigan retailers including Meijer, Kroger, Walmart, and Ulta Beauty to crack down on retail crime, which costs Michigan residents and businesses billions of dollars every year. Paris hosts the 2024 Olympic Games, but West Michigan hosts the 2024 Meijer State Games. Here's the Games Director, Julie Cullen.
We have around 60 different sports, and in total between winter and summer games, around 8,000 to 9,000 participants compete.
Cullen says most of the amateur events are in the Grand Rapids area, but some are in Holland, Grand Haven, Lansing, and Fenton. Events include archery, basketball, baseball, hockey, disc golf, golf, and karate. There are still thousands of outages among remaining following Wednesday night's severe storms. The DTE outage map shows about 21,000 homes and businesses still waiting to get their power back on. Some of the largest outages are in Oakland County, in the Southfield, Farmington, Farmington Hills, and Royal Oak areas. Further north, there are also pockets of outages in the Rochester and Shelby Township areas. DTE says crews are working to get everyone's power restored as quickly as possible. WSGW News Time, 10:10. I'm Mike Perchup.
At Westside Decorating Center. Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show. I take off my Saginaw Spirit hockey hat from last hour and switch sports now and put on my Dow Championship hat because next week, the fifth incarnation, if you will, of what was the Dow Great Lakes Bay Invitational, now the Dow Championship, comes to the Midland Country Club. And with us to chat about it this morning is the Vice President of Outlier, the event management company charged by Dow to run the event, where she is Tournament Director. We say good morning to Wendy Trashin. Wendy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Art. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for the last-minute acceptance of the invite. I usually try and give you more time.
It's all right.
So here we are in the fifth season, but we have a new name. So let's start there. why the change in the name from the Dow Great Lakes Bay Invitational, which was a mouthful, to the Dow Championship?
Well, as you said, it was a mouthful, and it really went to an acronym. So it was always the Dow GLBI. And a lot of people from around the country who sponsor the tournament, question that. I think Carlos, with all of his experience in sports and running sporting events, really felt very strongly that we could do better with the name. And so after a couple of months, that was what was selected. And I do think it's appropriate. It is champions that we bring here from the LPGA. We also feel very strongly about championing the region. And when you think of all of the aspects of this tournament and what it brings to the region, I think we're very proud of the new name.
And so anybody knows, Carlos is Carlos Padilla. He is, if you will, the sports guru for Dow, handles their sports affiliations.
Correct. And he does a really good job, and he has been really pushed this team in all the right ways, and you see it out on course. And we are very proud to roll out the new trophy 2 weeks ago at Media Day, and that will be on display along with the Memorial Cup trophy, because hats off to the Saginaw Spirit. We are very proud of them as well.
Well, it was just here. I could have brought it to you, but they wouldn't let me. Dylan came and took it. We just spent an hour with it. The trophy is interesting, too, because this was done by a notable company, wasn't it?
It was. It was done by Tiffany's, and for all good reasons. They do a lot of sporting trophies. And so while the Dow team was out in Cumberland, Rhode Island, filming the making of the trophy, the Super Bowl trophy for next year was also in the process of being made. So they are known for that. And nothing more special than having that big blue box arrive over to the Dow Corporate Center, because as you can imagine, most of us don't even have the opportunity for the Tiffany boxes, but to get the big box, it was pretty special.
It was. So how does the field look this year?
Our field is awesome. So I think this is one of the strongest fields we've had. We've been full for 2 weeks now, which is also awesome. And right now we're in the middle of pairing our amateurs up with the pros. We have to have that list over to the LPGA. Our rules official is here, and over to the LPGA by 1 o'clock this afternoon.
And that is for the Pro-Am, right?
For the Pro-Am. So we're excited for all those amateurs.
Which is Wednesday.
Yes.
And we'll all look like amateurs against these gals.
Hey, we're happy you're able to play with us this year, Art.
I'm looking forward to it. So let's talk about tickets, and because there are a few changes in the way the tickets are handled. So let's talk about tickets and what's available to the public.
Sure. So we have a great ticket package this year. So I'll start with Eat Great. So we have 3 Eat Great trails on course, 12, 13, and 17, handling it a little differently this year, where we're working with local caterers throughout the Great Lakes Bay region. And so those tickets are $60. You can travel from each of the locations. Everything's included in that $60. So not only you're able to watch great golf, but you are able to eat and drink in each one of those venues. And so we listened to our fans. We did a survey at the end of last year and received some great feedback. And so we're excited to see how that plays out this year. The other thing that we have is a weekly ticket, which is $20, which is very reasonable. That can get you in Thursday through Sunday. And then $10 for our daily tickets. So I think from an affordability standpoint, we really work hard to try to keep this affordable for everybody. And on Sunday, first time we've had Championship Sunday, We are working with Michigan Sugar, and all children that come out on course will get a scoop of ice cream sponsored by Michigan Sugar.
Wow, that is neat.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, that should be realized is this is the first time this is a Thursday through Sunday competition. In the past, because of travel arrangements to the championship overseas, we've had to run Wednesday to Saturday. And now it's Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, traditional tournament. So we're very excited about that. We'll be live on Golf Channel Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then live on CBS on Sunday.
Any thoughts on the future dates? I mean, are we going to try and keep it in the end of June like it is now, or is it going to revert back?
This is up to the LPGA, and we will be meeting with them early next week to get the dates for next year. I think we're very happy with hosting it this time of the year. I think MCC, Midland Country Club, is also happy about that. So we'll see what the LPGA thinks.
All right, let's talk schedule. What time does everything begin for the general public?
Gates open at 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday a little later, 8 o'clock. Our tee-off times are not until 11:40 on Saturday. And so it's a later play, which will be lovely. The field will be cut, but we'll go until about 8 o'clock at night on Saturday, and I'm excited about that. There's nothing better than to be on this course in the evening. It's just gorgeous. And then Sunday, gates will open at 8, and then play will be done at 3 o'clock. We have a very exciting closing ceremony this year, so I'm encouraging everybody to please stay through the closing ceremony. You won't be disappointed.
And the other question I have, too, about scheduling, because the opening ceremonies are prior to 7 o'clock. Will the gates open early on Thursday so public can come if they want?
Yeah, the gates, buses run starting at 5:30 in the morning for our volunteers. But we will let those people that are coming for the opening ceremonies, they will not have any issues getting in. And you're right, opening ceremonies are at 6:45.
And the other thing people should be aware of is that the entrance has moved down the road a little bit south of where it was the last time. Not far. I mean, it's just, several hundred feet offset from where it used to be.
Correct. And it's lovely. You saw it this week on the Sunset Tour. We're very proud of being able to offer our volunteers. As you know, we have 1,100 volunteers that volunteer for this tournament, and so we were able to move them into an air-conditioned suite up on the 16 tee box with a balcony, and I think they'll will enjoy that. But everything that has always been at admissions, we just moved it down and elevated it.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we can't wait for it to begin. It's always a great time in Midland, and also we should mention on Monday is Rock the Block in downtown Midland. It's a good way to kick off the week.
From 5 until 8, and we have a little champ contest. As you know, we have a mascot champ. And so we have a Where's Champ contest going that day, and we're working with a lot of the local businesses that will have specials, and we've got Pizza Sam's that is making a champ pizza. We have Heather and Holly that have sweet treats, and then both Molasses and Three Bridges have specials going on in honor of Rock the Block and the tournament kicking off.
All right, last question. If somebody wants more information, where can they get it?
DowChampionship.com.
And is the app up and running yet?
We are not having the app this year.
Oh.
We were able to monitor our website enough where people could download that on their phone and be able to get the information that they needed.
Excellent. Perfect. Wendy, thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with me this morning, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Can't wait. Thank you, Art.
Yep. Bye-bye now. Wendy Trashin, she is Vice President of Outlier, Tournament Director for the Dow Championship. We'll have open phones now for the remainder of the hour and into focus, 989-752-6111. This area has become a hotbed for sports. We've had the Memorial Cup. We have the Great Lakes Loons. We have the Dow Championship and many other sports going on that we have local and regional teams coming in the area and playing sports. I think it's wonderful. What are your thoughts on it? We'll chat with you after these notes.
Where are you going, Steve?
All right, we're back with you on the Art Lewis Show. Open phones, 989-752-6111. Pulled a story off the Free Press for pet owners. They are saying, and this is an article from a veterinarian. It was quoted from a veterinarian. Protect your pets from bird flu circulating throughout Michigan. Bird flu, Michigan happens to be a hot spot for it. It's called the highly pathogenic avian influenza, or the H5N1 bird flu, and it is adapted to infecting and killing birds. But not only is it deadly in poultry and birds, but it produces what they say is a puzzling array of symptoms in other animals, including those commonly kept as pets, especially cats. Cats owners need to be aware that cats are extremely susceptible to the H5N1 bird flu. They have a risk of dying from it and getting neurological symptoms. Barn cats that sometimes drink raw milk from sick cows were infected. Ferrets can become extremely sick from it. Dogs can be infected by the H5N1. However, reports of illness among dogs are rare. And when there are illnesses, the symptoms have been very mild. That comes from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Veterinarians urge pet owners, particularly cats and dogs, that they don't let them hunt birds or scavenge the carcasses of birds or other animals. And here are the tips. This came from the World Organization for Animal Health to protect your pets, especially cats, from the bird flu. Where possible, avoid direct contact with sick poultry, fallen wild birds, objects with traces of bird droppings or surfaces, or water sources that might contain contamination from saliva, feces, body fluids from birds. Upon returning home, ensure that your shoes are kept out of the reach of pets because you may have stepped in something. After coming home from outdoor areas that may have bird droppings, clean your shoes, disinfect the surface where you place your shoes, and avoid feeding pets raw poultry meat, particularly if avian influenza outbreaks are reported in your region. So there you go. Obviously, being forewarned is being forearmed, so that you can protect that loving pet that you have in your home that gives you as much love as you give it. Very, very important. And Michigan, as I said, has been a hotspot for avian flu for one reason or another. So it is certainly something that we need to be mindful of, being a national hotspot for bird flu. And something that we'd rather not be, but we are. So take notice. Take notice. 989-752-6111 is our chat line, if you wish. Give us a call. I pulled this headline because I chuckled at the headline. Wales could become first country to criminalize politicians who lie. Did you hear that, folks? Wales could become the first country to criminalize politicians who lie. And I'm saying to myself, well, what happens if we take that concept and bring it to the United States. We wouldn't have any politicians. That was my first thought. We wouldn't have any politicians. All right, let's say good morning to Rachel in Bay City. Rachel, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Art.
Good morning.
So, the bird flu. Man, this is like, I don't know, man. It's driving me nuts.
Why?
Because COVID at its beginning was 0.007 deadly. Now they're pushing bird flu, bird flu, bird flu. Everyone has to be terrified and horrified and paranoid of the bird flu.
Well, let's stop for a minute because bird flu is not new. It's been around
No,
a
it's
long,
not new,
long,
exactly.
long time,
Right.
and it comes in waves, and Michigan just happens to be one of those places that gets hit by it.
The reason they're wanting to cull all birds, period, all birds. They just want to kill them all and pretend that it's going to eradicate the bird flu, and it's not. And diseases happen. They come and they go, and they come and they go constantly.
Well, nobody's promising to kill all birds. They
No,
have taken.
yeah,
they
yeah,
have.
they are.
They
Every
have
single one of
taken.
these parts.
No, they have taken
I could
poultry.
send you 50
Come on.
articles. I could send you 50 articles right now that are Idaho farm this, Illinois farm this, blah blah blah, calling all birds millions.
Spot areas, spot locations, a particular farm, a particular group of poultry. Nobody's out killing birds outside and going place to place killing
I'm not
birds.
talking about all birds. I'm talking about where they say that there's a bird flu, whatever.
Well, yeah.
Incident, positive.
And that
Yeah.
doesn't make
No.
sense to you?
No, it absolutely doesn't make sense to me.
Why not?
Because we all get every kind of illness. How many illnesses have you had in your life? You're 80 years old, dude.
I've had a few.
I'm 45.
Sure.
How many illnesses have I had?
Yeah.
Am I going to get killed because I get a flu?
Maybe.
No.
Some
No.
do. Some do.
Many. That's ridiculous.
What's
That's
ridiculous?
absolutely ridiculous.
You're
You don't
telling me
kill the
nobody's.
entire-
So you're telling me nobody's ever died from influenza?
You don't kill the entire population because somebody gets the flu in your town.
No, but you
That's
try
what
and
I'm
mitigate the source, don't you?
How do you mitigate the source of the flu? The flu is going to get you or it's not. How do you mitigate the flu? How do you mitigate the flu?
You mitigate the flu by reducing the sources.
Yeah, you're going to kill all the people that have the flu, and then the flu disappears.
I have to ask you a question, Rachel. Is everything a conspiracy theory?
Do you know the definition of conspiracy?
I asked you a question.
Conspiracy means to conspire against us.
And you think that's what this is?
Absolutely, I think that's what this is. It's another media insanity round starting right now to continue all the way through the election time for them just to have yet another option to say, wear masks, don't go out and vote, da-da-da-da-da-da, all that nonsense.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm obviously not going to talk you out of it, so we'll just have to live with your view. That's fine. And you are entitled to your view, and I'm entitled to mine, and everybody's entitled to theirs. That's
All
what
right.
makes a horse
Thanks,
race.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, Rach. Thanks. Bye-bye now. All right, we'll take a break, come back. We'll get to Chuck when we return here on WSGW.
Maximize your sugar content this.
All right, we're back with you here on WSGW. Back to our phones. Chuck is in Millington. Chuck, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Art. I just want to let you know how much I love your programming and I love your personality.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You are a wake-up call whenever I find you. And do you guys do mobile sites when you ever do your show out in mobile places and events?
Occasionally we do remotes and things.
Yeah. And then do you still have Listen to the Missus?
No, that disappeared probably, I want to say it disappeared before COVID, so it was prior to 2020, so it was at least 5-6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we haven't done that in a long time. There are days I miss it, and there are days I don't.
Yep. And there's days I don't listen to rock and roll because I want to listen to Heartmeal Rock.
There you go. All right. Very good. Chuck, thanks. Appreciate it. Bye-bye now. Chuck in Millington. The Supreme Court today will be dropping decisions on guns, abortion, Trump, immunity, and more. And they've started. They released their first decision this morning. This is on guns. They upheld a federal law that prohibits people who are subject to domestic violence restraining orders from having firearms. They ruled that a person to be found by a court to pose a credible threat to the physical safety of another may be temporarily disarmed. And they say that is consistent with the Second Amendment that was written by Justice Roberts. John Roberts wrote the majority opinion. There was one dissension. It was an 8-1 vote. Justice Clarence Thomas was the lone dissenter. Roberts wrote in the order, when a restraining order contains a finding that an individual poses a credible threat to the physical safety of an intimate partner, that individual may, consistent with the Second Amendment, be banned from possessing firearms while the order is in effect. Since the founding, our nation's firearm laws have included provisions preventing individuals who threaten physical harm to others from misusing firearms. As applied to the facts of this case, the law fits comfortably within this tradition, unquote, which I have been taught throughout my life by my father, who was a lawyer, by a good friend of mine who's a constitutional lawyer, and by many others. No right is absolute. There are usually some conditions somewhere. All right, I want to take a break, and then we'll be back with Gene in Bay City right after these notes.
We're proud to make
And we'll get back to our phones now. Gene is in Bay City. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning to the guy that has so much patience with some people. I find that amazing. I would lose my temper. I could never do what you do. I got a call yesterday. Cable Spectrum, sometimes they will call on the phone and tell you you're going to be down for an hour or 2 hours for maintenance or something. So I got a call from a guy said he was Spectrum, verified my name and address, and then he asked for the last 4 digits of my Social Security number. Well, now with artificial intelligence, if a scammer gets even those last 4 numbers, they can, with artificial intelligence, they can get the rest of your Social Security number.
You know how I tricked one of them one time? I was in a mood, and this is unusual because usually I just hang up on them. But I was in a mood to be playful. And they went through the initial stuff. Is this your name? They already knew my name, so I wasn't going to deny it. And when they asked for the last 4 digits of my social number, I made up one. Wasn't even close. To which they said, all right, thank you. Yes, that confirms. And I'm going, yeah, right.
Yeah, you have to be so careful nowadays. My neighbor friend, they had her talked into believing she had won a truck.
Mm-hmm. That's a big
from
one.
This Jelly Roll, some singer. Anyhow, she was so convinced. She went over to Walmart. She borrowed $150 from a friend and went over there to get the gift cards. The lady would not sell them to her because she told her why she wanted them.
Smart.
And the lady was so kind in looking out for people. She wouldn't sell her.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and talked her out of it. But anyhow.
If you won something, you shouldn't have to go buy anything.
Absolutely. Okay, on the bird situation, the reason that Michigan has so much bird flu compared to some of the other states is because we have so much water shelters and lakes and everything, that all the migrating birds stop here to rest and to eat and recuperate before they travel on. And that's why, there's so many of our domestic birds catch it. It's because of all the migration that comes through here.
Yeah, we do have a lot of birds. That's true.
Now, last Friday, I had company in the morning, and I only caught the very, very end of your show. And you were talking to the Greek priest or minister, or whatever.
Yeah, Tim Cook, Father Cook.
Yeah. Anyhow, I heard him say something about love and change. Do you remember what he said? I'm so sorry I missed that.
Yeah, no, I don't. Although it was. No, I don't remember because I don't remember where the conversation led to that got there.
Well, anyhow, it would be nice if you'd have him on again sometime.
I will do that. All right.
And then on the health
really
thing,
good, really fast. Go ahead.
I don't know if I can do it fast. High blood pressure. In Finland, they only have 60% of the amount of heart attacks and strokes as we have here in the United States. And part of the reason they believe that is true is because they do not use pure salt like we do here.
All right, well, let's save that for another day then, because that's going to get into a lengthy discussion.
Magnesium.
All right, we'll save it.
Thank you for listening.
All right, Gene. Bye-bye now. We're going to try and get squeezed two more in here. Paul in Saginaw. Paul, go ahead.
Morning, Art. Yesterday on Focus, you had your insurance man on.
Yep.
And you asked him a question about if the car insurance has gone up for people like you and I who opted out of medical and on Medicare A and B. And what did he tell you?
Well, it was confusing. He left me with the impression that there might be a small increase in our policy because of it, but yet that the P&P did not go up, and we don't pay for that. I was confused by it, to tell you the truth. I suspect there may be a couple of dollars in the premium, but not a lot. So
well, mine went up $70 last year, and $50 from the year before.
Well, but that's probably not all PPP.
And I got PLPD on top of it. So, and I had no tickets, no accidents.
But you got older.
And, yep, I heard when I turn 75, it's going to go up too. Is that true?
It'll probably go up every year after that. I'm 81.
Well, I heard that at 75, they're absolutely increase you more because of your age.
Yeah, it does, but how much depends on your record. So
right.
If your driving record's clean, it may go up a little bit, but it's not going to go up astronomical. All right.
Right.
Good
All
enough,
right.
Paul. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, later.
Yep. The last caller is Bill in Cass City. Bill, good morning.
Good morning, Art. How are you?
Doing well.
I have a question. Maybe you've went over it before. I don't know. But in our years, I'm 77, so I'm in your age group. Have you ever been on a jury of any type?
I was called on one but wasn't seated. The answer is no. However, my late wife, she got called on 6 of them. She had the luck of the Irish when it came to that. And she wasn't Irish.
Well, over the years, I've sat on many juries. I've got 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
But when did we change the rule of law that said of the 12 jurors seated and alternates, if you needed to be, that you didn't have to have 100%. In other words, all 12 people say yay or nay, guilty or innocent. Because when this trial at Trump went through, well, now all you had to have was a consensus. But majority of one. Like, what?
No. Not for the criminal stuff. That's true in non-criminal. Like the case with the money that was supposedly given to what's her name? You know who I'm talking about, Daniels.
Stormy
but,
Daniels or whatever.
Yeah, right, Stormy Daniels. Yeah, but the non-criminal cases don't require 100%. Criminal do. If you have a felony charge, it's 100%.
Okay, but of these 34 cases, which he was convicted on all 34 cases.
Unanimous.
And they have said outright, I've listened to Fox News, I've listened to other outlets, and they didn't have 100%. And I'm sitting there saying,
no,
wait
they
a minute.
did have 100%. When the verdicts were read, it was 100%.
Okay, well then I stand corrected because that struck me as odd. I said, really?
Yeah. After the fact, there's been discussion about jury commentary to family prior to the decision being decided, where jurors were talking to their family and saying, "Yeah, we're going to find him guilty," and the judge reported that the next day to the defense team. Don't know what's going to happen with that. Don't know if that's going to change anything or not.
Well, it was so strange because when I said, wait a minute, I've been on several cases that if you look cross-eyed, you got convicted.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you because I've got to take a break here. I got a little time left, Bill, but we'll talk to you again. Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Thank you very much. Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Want to make your night out a little more...
We'll keep open lines going during Focus.
Broadcasting from the